right, we're on lesson 5, which is on sample space. So we've talked about sample space before in the second lesson, but just a little reminder that sample space is the list of all of our possible outcomes. So we're just going to be practicing that and look at it in a couple different scenarios today. So the first thing we've got is an example of tossing a paper cup. So here are the results of flipping that cup 5 times. It's asking what our sample space is. So we're going to say the cup could either land on its side, because it doesn't matter which side it's facing, right side up, or upside down. So those are the 3 different options for the outcomes that we could get. So let's take a look at some different scenarios. So it says, for each of the following chance experiments, list the sample space or all the possible outcomes. So first one's drawing a colored cube from a bag that has 2 green, 1 red, 10 blue, and 3 black. So I'm going to state that this is the sample space. And then I'm just going to write my options. I have green, red, blue, and black. Shooting a soccer ball at the net. So we're not going to be super specific, like it can go in the top corner, it can go in the left corner. The ball for our sample space can either go in the net or miss the net. So we could either score or miss. Number 3, rolling a number cube with the numbers 1 through 6 on its faces. Our sample space are all the numbers 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, next page. Okay, so now I'm going to have you try a few on your own. Okay, so first one is spinning the spinner. So we're going to list the sample space of the spinner, and then you're also going to follow up with the probability of spinning a 2. So go ahead and pause the video and try that on your own. When you're all set, unpause and just make sure you have the right answer. All right, for our spinner, we should have a sample space of all of the numbers 1 through 8. And our probability of landing on 2, there's only 1 2 here, so it's 1 out of my 8 total options. Number 5, consider a chance experiment of rolling a number cube. What is the sample space? List the probability of each outcome in the sample space. What is the probability of rolling an odd number? And what is the probability of rolling a number less than 5? I'd like you to pause the video, do that one on your own. When you're all set, unpause the video and check your work. All right, our sample space should be the numbers 1 through 6. And I'm listing each individual probability. So you should have the probability of 1 equals 1/6. The probability of 2 equals 1/6. Probability of 3. Now, all of these numbers only show up once on our number cube. So all the probabilities are going to be exactly the same. Be very careful. A common thing that will happen is you'll be writing the probability of 5 and you'll write 5 out of 6. But remember, 5 only shows up once on the number cube. All right, probability of an odd number. So probability of odd, we need our probability sentence, not just a value, equals 3/6, and we're always going to simplify. 3/6 is 1/2. Probability of a number less than 5. Well, a number less than 5, it could be 1, 2, 3, or 4. It cannot be 5 because it has to be smaller than 5. So 4 out of 6, but make sure we simplify. 2/3. Number 6, a penny was tossed and a die was rolled. What is the probability of tossing a head and rolling an even number? All right, so we're going to list our sample space. So our sample space here is a total of all the options for either heads or tails and what happens with our dice or our die. So our sample space, I could either get heads and 1, heads and roll a 2, heads and roll a 3, heads and roll a 4, heads and roll a 5, or heads and roll a 6. I have to list all the different possibilities. So instead of heads, if I don't get heads, I'm going to get tails. And if I get tails, I could either get 1, I could get tails and then roll a 2, tails and then roll a 3, tails and then roll a 4, tails and then a 5, tails and then a 6. So when we're listing things that have to do with 2 specific outcomes they're asking us about, our sample space, we have to be mindful of how we're writing it. Start with 1 possible event for the first thing and change up all the second events, then change the first event. So go in order, don't just put whatever's coming to your mind. So now we're going to answer the question, probability of rolling or tossing a head and rolling an even number. So I'm going to look at all my sample space that has an H first, an even number. So I'm just going to box in the ones that have heads and an even number. So there are 3 options there. So the probability of heads and even would be 3 options out of, and then I'm just going to count up my total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 3 out of 12, and remember we're going to simplify 1/4. All right, we're going to try one like that again. Okay, so this time it says students are playing a game that requires spinning 2 spinners. A student will win the game if both spins land on red. What is the probability of winning that game? So we're first going to list the sample space and the probability of the outcome. So let's go ahead. So our sample space So remember, we're going to start with all of our possible options for the first one. So for first spin, I could get red. And then on the second spin, I could get red again. I could get red on my first spin, but instead I could get blue on the second spin. Red, then yellow, red, then green. So if I don't spin red first, I could spin blue. I'm going to have you pause the video and finish writing that sample space and answer the question of the probability for getting red and red. So please pause the video, try it out. When you're done, unpause and check. All right, we should have blue and red, blue and blue, blue and yellow, blue and green. And then the probability of red and red only shows up once out of our total 8 options, so 1/8. All right, that is all for this lesson. Good luck on your homework.